Pema, Pema Gesa Jombo La Yasen Jogi Ngoronian Pema June Hizuja Unkordu Kandro Mambu Koi Kiki Jesu Da Jogi Jingi Loji Jesu Guru Pema Isende. Good evening. Wherever you are, might be good night or might be good afternoon. Anyway, good evening. And, oh, thank you. Here we are to talk about Ngondro. That's always a great subject. You know why? Because it's infinite. And that's what I want to talk about today, the fact that Ngondro is infinite. I'll give you an idea. Buddha Shakyamuni gave 84,000 teachings. And great part of those teachings, of those 84,000 teachings, they totally fit on those 4 lines in the Ngondro. That's what happens when they don't memorize things. Dudjom Tersar Lama So, refuge and bodhicitta, everything, almost everything the Buddha Shakyamuni said, it's there. There are 2 great collections of teachings of Buddha Shakyamuni. They are called the Kangyur and the Tengyur. I mean, there is more than Buddha Shakyamuni, especially the Tengyur. But if you look at the size of the collection, all of that fits in refuge and bodhicitta. And we are not even touching Tantra and, of course, Tengyur has a lot of Tantra, but you know, there is so much that can be talked about those 2 things. It's just infinite. And that's why perhaps one of the main directions that Rinpoche gave to us when we finished retreat was doing Ngondro every day. Lama Pema when the last group finished, one of his main advices was do Ngondro every day because everything fits in within Ngondro. And great lineage holders of the Dudjom Tersar, they emphasize that the only practice that you should really never stop is Ngondro. Many other teachers from other traditions, not only from the Dudjom Tersar, their main requirement is that students can keep doing Ngondro. So then you start to ask yourself, okay, what about this practice, that practice? It's not missing. I need to do my protectors. Come on, what are you talking about? Right? Well, yeah, the Lama said, do this practice in addition, do the protectors at night. Of course, Lama says we do. Period. But every day I get a little bit more a little bit more inspired and curious about how complete the Ngondro practice is, and how all the 9 yanas, they fit within Ngondro. And how Ngondro can be the only practice you do for the rest of your life. Yeah, it's with F. And what I want to talk about today was a suggestion from my Dharma brother, Lama Jurme, from Portugal, who came here in June. And he said, I need to talk about that quotation from Jingten Sumon, the father of the Drupon Kagyu lineage, that says, people talk about preliminary practices, but in my tradition, the preliminary practices are the main practice. And how those preliminary practices can be main practice. Well, let's try to understand a little bit the structure of how within the great picture of Buddhism can be divided. Imagine that Dharma teachings are like a big cake. Some people like to eat half of the cake, divide the cake in two. For example, there's one school in Tibetan Buddhism that divides everything in Sutra and Tantra. So, cut the cake in the middle. This is the Sutra teachings. This is the Tantric teachings. There is other schools that divide in Hinayana, Mahayana, Vajrayana. Yeah, it's a cake. You cut the cake the way you want. We in Mapas, we like to cut the cake in 9 pieces. And the 2 first pieces are called Shravakayana and Pratyeka Buddhayana. Fancy names. If you like Dzongzar Kendra Rinpoche, he loves those fancy names. When the Buddha Shakyamuni gave his first teachings, the first one was the Four Noble Truths. So the truth of suffering, its origin, its, how can I say, the end and the age of suffering and the eightfold path that takes us to freedom. So there is a part of the cake called Shravakayana that it's totally dedicated to that piece of the cake, the Four Noble Truths. How to attain freedom from the cyclic existence by just meditating about the Four Noble Truths. The second piece of the cake is called Pratyeka Buddhayana, and it's based on Buddha Shakyamuni's first teachings. Also, a very particular set called the 12 Nidanas, or 12 links of interdependence, in which we understand how mind forms and creates suffering, and how you can go back in the process of creating suffering back to the original source. Yeah, the Pratyeka Buddhas, they practice only that. So, what is important for us? Yeah, because all of this just sound like information, right? What's important for us is that those 2 teachings are the basis for the sutra foundational vehicle of the Hinayana. That is called Hinayana. I prefer to call the foundation, because everything we do depends on those teachings. And within Ngondro, all those teachings, all those methods, they can be subsumed on one single teaching and practice. the practice of taking refuge in the Buddha, taking refuge in the Dharma, and taking refuge in the Sangha. Can you imagine those 84,000 teachings are there, almost? Yeah, taking refuge. All the complete essence of the Hinayana is there. There is a very beautiful quotation from Buddha Shakyamuni that we all know, that is, produce no non-virtue. Do virtue, do good things. And the third one is tame your mind. So the first one, do no, produce no virtue, it's related to the Hinayana. Through the Hinayana teachings, we learn that we suffer. And whatever happens with us is the result of karma. So, and how karma manifests? Karma, it's the unfolding result of our own actions. So, the practice of the Hinayana is the practice of cultivating the causes of suffering. Oh, rewind. Cultivate the causes of happiness. Do not cultivate the causes of suffering. What makes us suffer? It's our own actions, especially the actions that are motivated through the three poisons: ignorance, aversion, and desire. Those are the shackles, let me say, that keep us bound to cyclic existence, or samsara if you prefer, say like that. The Hinayana teaching is all about the 10 virtues. Do, practice, put into practice the 10 virtues. Get away from 10 non-virtues. Do good things. That is going to be the cultivation for the causes of suffering. Have you ever thought that when you are there doing your prostrations and throw yourself on the ground and doing Lama, you are actually saying, you are actually making a commitment? You didn't get it? I'll explain. When you take refuge in the Buddha, you make a commitment of not doing harm, not do anything that's going to produce suffering for you or others. To take refuge in the Buddha actually means to take refuge in an attitude. I'm talking Hinayana view because depending on the view can be something totally different. But in terms of the Hinayana view, taking refuge in the Buddha is not to be stupid. Oh, that sounds harsh. I'll explain. When you take refuge in the Buddha, you are taking refuge in an attitude of not harming, in an attitude of creating causes for happiness. You are taking refuge in the attitude of avoiding, renouncing any attitude that's going to bring you suffering. Adopt the causes of happiness. Renounce the causes of suffering. That's what you're doing when you do your prostrations. You are making a commitment. I take refuge in the Buddha. I take refuge in the Buddha. I take refuge in the Buddha. Meaning, I take refuge in an attitude of not harming. I take refuge in an attitude of not hurting, I take a refuge in an attitude of renunciation over evil. I take refuge in an attitude of renunciation over anything that is going to bring suffering for myself or others. So, when you are there, shoo, 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 you are making 100,000 times this commitment. This commitment by itself is what turns the tide of samsara. Just that. Just that. Your direction has been towards suffering. Hi. Your direction now is towards happiness, towards exploring your full potential. But I should not talk too much, because in the Hinayana path, the main goal is to become an arhat, someone who defeated the enemy. What's the enemy? Evilness, our own evil, our own attitudes, our own kleshas, our own afflictive emotions. And don't think that just because I'm a Buddhist, I don't have them. I have. We all have. But we're going to talk about the importance of that later. But the Buddha said, do virtue. Do virtuous deeds. Do good things. So, the third piece of the cake is called Bodhisattvayana, or the vehicle of the Bodhisattvas, or the vehicle of the Yana, right? Vehicle. Bodhi means awaken. Sattva, being, the beings of awakening. The vehicle where the beings who are going to attain awakening ride. I was in Santa Cruz. We have a couple of centers here in Santa Cruz County that has monks and nuns. So here I am in Pacific, one day, and there was a burgundy van, and guess what came from inside of that van? A bunch of anis. And I thought, oh, that's really cool. That's a Bodhisattvayana. Yeah, the vehicle full of bodhisattvas inside, right? Bodhisattvayana. So that's the third piece of the cake. And the third piece of the cake is dedicated to two things. First of all, there is a goal. And the goal is not to transcend suffering. The goal is to attain, oh my God, I have a photo of Dumsi Tingleno Rinpoche right in front of me. Okay. As Dumsi Tingleno Rinpoche would say, attain full Buddhahood, complete Buddhahood, stainless Buddhahood. Those who decide to follow the Bodhisattvayana, also known as Mahayana, have as a goal attain full Buddhahood. Okay, but how they do that and why they do that? Well, I want to attain Buddhahood. Well, what's the problem with this picture? There is something called I. Bodhisattvayana is based on the foundational teachings that says, according to the Buddha Shakyamuni, 3 or 4 things called the 4 seals of existence. And of course I don't remember, but if you want to learn about that, read Tsontar Khyentse's Rinpoche's book. Not for happiness. Yeah. No, it's what makes you not a Buddhist. Yeah. Yes. And if I can remember, those seals are everything is impermanent, the nature of existence is compounded, suffering is everywhere, samsara is, nirvana, transcendence is peace. So everything is compounded means that there's not a entity called I. I is inexistent. If you guys watch that movie, Shortcut to Nirvana, on the bonus features, the Dalai Lama is in a Kumbh Mela with a bunch of sadhus, and the Dalai Lama said, Atman, it's your business, Anatman, it's my business, and we have no problem. So what the Dalai Lama was saying that we Buddhists, we believe in Anatman, meaning the absence of an I. So that's foundational. The I is a construct. It is something put together. It's something artificial. It is a conglomerate of reactions and conditions that right now look like Freddy. And some years ago, it looked like a little Freddy. 46 years ago, probably was this size, said on my mom's belly. What really defines Freddy? Nothing defines Freddy besides what you identify as those how do you say this? Conditions together. So if there is no I, who wants to attain Buddhahood? There is no I to attain Buddhahood. Duh. So what I'm going to do if there is no me to attain Buddhahood, I'm going to attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. I'm going to attain Buddhahood for the sake of everybody else, and especially those who are experiencing suffering for not realizing that their own nature is beyond an I. And those teachings, Buddha Shakyamuni gave so many teachings. Perhaps the most
just had a bad connection and we dropped out. Can you hear us? Can you hear us?
Yep, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. So here we go. So this is Lama Rinpoche's prostration mudra. When we are in the shrine and we forget something, some ritual actions, Rinpoche would do like this. Prostration mudra. So, when you are doing this, I'm not going to assume like absolutely. That doesn't take, right? You are saying, I take I take refuge in Buddha. I make a commitment to avoid the bad things. When you stand up, you do não vou continuar nada. Then there's on take around tomba. My use and change and then droop and do this again, right? So when you are repeating those words, do you know what you are doing? You are making another commitment. The first commitment is you are repeating to all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and your father, your mother, your enemies, the demons, all the men, all the women, males, females in the whole universe. I am going to attain Buddhahood for you. It sounds so fancy, right? It sounds so fancy. It sounds so great. I love it. There's only one problem. Did you realize this is a commitment? No, seriously, this is a commitment. This is not a something nice to say or something that you need to do 100,000 times because you want to come to lecture teachings in Pema Osel. It is not. This is a commitment. So sometimes I look at myself and I look at someone suffering and I have more important things to do. Someone suffering calls me and, okay, I have more important things to do. Someone is harsh with me and sometimes I start to ask myself why I am doing this, why I am trying to do something good for this person, why I am just being, the result is people treat me like this, like that. You choose. Then I look at me in the mirror and I say, I have bad news for you, my friend. You made a commitment that from now until I attain enlightenment, be the servant of all sentient beings. So what you are complaining about? That's what you choose. You know, that's very interesting. I hear many practitioners saying this. Oh, I try to be good for others. I suffer so much. People treat me so bad. People exploit me. Hello? That when you did that, that 100,000 times bodhicitta, you said 100,000 times, I'm going to serve all sentient beings. So all sentient beings do whatever you want, you need from me. Like Buddha Shakyamuni, past life, offered his own blood and flesh to the lioness. You guys know this story, right? And we think, oh, that's so nice. Hello? We all made the same commitment as Buddha Shakyamuni. This is serious. Did you realize that? From now on, all that you do is for the benefit of others. There is no there is no space for hesitation. There is no space for complaints. That's our choice. Nobody forced us to take Bodhisattva vow. Nobody forced us to inhale the suffering of all sentient beings, the sickness of all sentient beings, the poverty of all sentient beings, and give back our possessions, give back to all sentient beings all our health, our happiness. It's really challenging when you do Tonglen, that's bodhicitta kind of practice when you inhale. I'm inhaling the suffering of all sentient beings. I am really for real? Ask yourself, because this can be a very good way to bring some reality to your practice of bodhicitta. But okay, that is the perspective. In very practical terms, your commitments pass through boundless compassion. I really want to be you in your suffering. Are you? For sure. Well, this is a commitment. I want you to have happiness. Yes. Including those who beat us and make us suffering. Well, we made this commitment of boundless love. I want to see all sentient beings have no difference. May all sentient beings perceive that there is no difference amongst any sentient being. Well, we all have our preferences and our dislikes. But when we do Ngondro, when we do bodhicitta, what we're telling the whole universe is, I am abandoning my dislikes and my preferences. Did you file that? Yeah. What's the fourth? Love, compassion, equanimity. Oh, rejoice. Yes. You know that individual that does not deserve to be there, to got what you wanted to have? Yeah, you rejoice for that person. No, but they deserve it. I have news for you. Remember that 100,000 times that you did that? Well, you actually made a commitment to rejoice. So I see there is a big difficulty for all us practitioners to do those things and recognize that actually we are making a commitment to totally change ourselves. Accept things that we were educated and raised to do not accept. So when you decide to do your Ngondro, ask yourself, is that really what I want? I mean, this is all very beautiful, but if the rubber hits the road?
Rubber hits the road.
Yeah. How I'm going to react? Think well, because you're making a commitment. And the way through which you manifest this commitment through 6 avenues. Generosity, moral discipline, patience, concentration, joyful effort, yes. On top of everything, you need to have a big smile, and wisdom, transcendent wisdom. But I think we talked about Bodhisattvayana a lot. The important thing I want you guys to know is that Ngondro has all of that, and you are making a commitment with that. Are you up for the commitment? Then, talking about the cake, the Ning Mapa cake. Oh, of course. I know that we have also Kaiju and Gelupa practitioners here in this program. So I'm going through the Ning Mapa style of dividing the cake, but doesn't matter. If you are going to divide in Sutra and Tantra of Hinayana, Mahayana, Vajrayana, at the very end, it's the same cake. Any piece you take of the cake tastes the same. Okay, the frosting might taste different from the cherry, from the crust. But anyway, the same cake. So the next 3 pieces of the cake is what we call the outer tantras. Kriya Tantra, Charya Tantra, Yoga Tantra. They are called yoga. They are called. Okay, the tantras are the path of the result. In the sutra, you practice so that one day you get this result. So I'm going to do all of this stuff. So one day I'm going to become a Buddha. In the Tantra, it's the opposite. We call Tantra the resultant vehicle. That's like this. Lama comes with the bumpa. That's like the bumpa. And say, from now on, I'm going to present you to who you are. Do you know who you are? Okay, I will tell you. Your name is, you are Tara. And give you the form of Tara. And then says, your speech now is Ontaritu Tariture Soha. And you, oh, yes, Ontaritu Tariture Soha. Yeah. And the Lama says, your mind is Tam. Your mind is boundless compassion, mind of Tara. Boom. And you recognize that and say, oh, it is. Here come again. I have great news to you. When you receive a tantric empowerment, you know what happens? You have no longer excuse to think that you are Freddy. I am Freddy. No, I'm not Freddy, I'm Tara. What are you talking about? I still need to pay my credit card bill at the end of the month. Yes, you need to pay your credit card bill, but you are Tara, no matter what. Your speech is on Tari to Tari Ture Soha, and your mind is continuous state of awareness. Yes. When you receive a tantric empowerment, you are introduced to who you are. Your body, the nature of your body, the nature of speech, or nature of your mind. So, I'm going to give a very short, just introduction to those tantras. So, when you are introduced to our tantras, it's a little bit like the Buddha is there, I am here, separated from me, you know? And there is something wrong with me, and the Buddha is going to purify. That is the perspective of Kriya Tantra. Then there is the Charya Tantra, in which I am already purified, and me and the deity are exactly the same. And the Yoga Tantra means I am the deity. I just need to increase my understanding, my experience of that. I really don't want to talk very much about those tantras because they are not very much practiced in our tradition. But guess what? When you sit there and you have Vajrasattva on top of your head, and you ask Vajrasattva to pour some water. Oh my, this is going to be messy. Anyway, pour the nectar and clean you. Oh, the outer tantras are there. You know, all those all those deities related to our outer tantra approaches of outer tantra practice, they are in Vajrasattva. There is nothing missing. Then you know what happens? Then you have the inner tantras. There are 3 inner tantras in the Nyingma tradition. In the Sarmata tradition means in the Gelupa, Sakya, and Kagyupa, we call that Anuttara Yoga Tantra, or unsurpassable highest Yoga Tantra. But I'm going to use, it's the same essentially, but I'm going to use the Nyingma word. So the next 3 pieces of the cake are called Mahayoga, Ati Yoga, and Anu Yoga. Those 3 are going to take you to enlightenment in one single lifetime. Whoa! Did you guys hear about that very vicious bad guy called Milarepa who killed let's say cowardly his whole family with black magic? That guy attained enlightenment in one lifetime. But how come? Well, that's the power of the inner tantras. Purification, boundless purification, and boundless accumulation of merit. Ugh. Hey, Freddie. It sounds so great, so beautiful. All those stories in the past. No, they are not stories from the past. Since 2002, I can tell you that at least 3 people attained rainbow body. You know the meaning of that? That their bodies started to dissolve in clear light, in rainbow light? Yeah. This stuff of attaining rainbow body tells us that these tantric teachings, they are not stories from the past. So beautiful. And then Moses opened the how do you say? The Red Sea. Oh, so beautiful mythology from the past. Oh, you choose all the mythology stories from the past. Yeah, Milarepa, so beautiful story. I'll tell to my kids before going to sleep. No, guys. Those teachings that through which you attain enlightenment in one single lifetime, they still exist. They are still active. People are still attaining enlightenment nowadays, attaining rainbow bodies. Since 2002 to now, at least 3 people. We saw photos, everything. Go to Facebook. You're going to find that there. Or if you want to ask somebody really cool, look for Father Francis Tizo. The guy went to Tibet just to study the rainbow body phenomenon. So, having said that, the 3 inner tantras are the Mahayoga, that is centered on visualizing yourself as wisdom deity, but practically speaking, you do not visualize yourself as wisdom deity. That is not accurate. The moment you receive these empowerments from the Lama, he or she is breaking the bark around yourself and revealing who you are. So when you do Mahayoga, you don't visualize yourself as Vajrayana. You are Vajrayana. I was presented to myself from my Lama, through the blessings of my Lama, to who I really am. I am Vajrayana. So I am not practicing to become Vajrayana. No, in Tantra is, I am Vajrayana. Period. The second of the inner Tantra, so for example, when Vajrasattva dissolves in light and dissolves in you, and you become Vajrasattva, Yabum, at the end of the Vajrasattva practice, I have great news to you guys. The essence of the complete path of Mahayoga is there. There is nothing missing. All the teachings of Mahayoga are there. You have been practicing Mahayoga, nobody told you. But it's not only that. The second inner Tantra is called Anu Yoga. It's the piece number 8 of the cake. We are eating the cake, right? So in Anu Yoga, you transform your perceived as ordinary body in what we call the Vajra body, through the practices of the channels and the winds and the essences. And the final the core is to realize what we call the 4 kinds of joy, and that are inseparable from the 4 empowerments. Guess what? When you are receiving Vajrasattva's blessings, what you experience in your chakras is those joys. You can go to Patru Rinpoche, he says that. This is not my invention. It's in Kunzang Lame Shalom. Words of my perfect teacher, I think. Anyway, all the process of the yogas of the channels and winds, they are actually, for who know how to interpret it and understand, contained in Vajrasattva. Believe it or not, there is nothing missing there. And finally, the last piece of the cake, Ati Yoga, Dzogchen, great perfection. The essence of those teachings, it's a little hard to say, but I can tell you guys go to the website, there's a link there, Friends of Lama Tartar. Get any of those teachings, put there. Lama Tartar Rinpoche always teaches great perfection. I remember Vajra brother was working here in the bookstore, and someone called and asked, when is Lama Tartar teaching Dzogchen? And he said, I think the question is when Lama Tartar is not teaching Dzogchen. Every time he opens his mouth, it's teaching Dzogchen. Yeah, it is true. It's so incredible how both Lama Tartar Rinpoche and Don Sutin Rinpoche, there was not one single moment that their teachings would not pervade the whole entirety of the universe through the understanding of the ultimate view of the primordial purity of mind. And I have news for you. You can assess that primordial purity of mind. Wisdom. That happens when your mind and the Lama's mind become one single mind. But okay, I need a GPS to get this wisdom mind. I will give you the GPS. Says you go through the Omahom Bandra Guru Pema City Home Road, turn to the top when you see Om, go a little down, like here, yeah, like here, yeah. On the red sign says Ah, and go a little down, down. Yeah, there. No, there. Yeah, there, right there. On the blue sign saying Hum. Follow the GPS on Mahum Bandra Guru Pema Siddhi Hum. And when you go to first Om, then Ah and Hum, then there's actually another place that comes Om Ahum all at once. That is the GPS for the experience of recognizing primordial purity. Primordial purity is inseparable from the wisdom mind of the Lama. Every single teaching of Dzogchen is within Kuru Yoga. You might receive every single Dzogchen teaching in the Nyingma Kama, in the Rinpoche Terzhe, and There is not one of them missing on the Guru Yoga practice. The Guru Yoga practice that you do now is the Guru Yoga practice you are going to do after even going through Hodrubda, is the same Guru Yoga practice. Because the essence is exactly the same. Recognizing the wisdom mind of the Lama as inseparable with your own wisdom mind. And as you can see, we say in my language, in land of blind people, if you have one single eye, you are king. So if you have one single eye, you will realize that all the teachings of the sutras, all the teachings of the tantras are within Ngondro. All the teachings of the great perfection, all the 17 tantras of Menangde, everything is there at Ngondro. Never let, by a single second, splits of a second, a thought pass through your mind that there is something else out there, more important, more advanced. Yeah, there are fancier practices. There are some practices that perhaps your heart is going to really connect, is going to click. But don't think that those practices are not in Ngondro. Don't think that the wisdom mind of the Lama cannot be experienced through Ngondro. Don't let the expression foundational, preliminaries, ever deceive you. They are the main practice. The whole main practice is there. Buddhahood in one lifetime. It's in the palm of your hand. Right here. Ngondro. This very, very, very precious practice came from the ultimate Dharmakaya, Buddha Kuntuzampo, Buddha Kuntuzangu, down through Vajrasattva, Sambhogakaya, Arabdorje, Sri Singha, Guru Rinpoche, his disciples, King Trinson Dyutsen, Yeshe Tsogyal, and Chöchung Lotsawa, who got reborn as the great revealer, Dudjom Limpa. Through him, his main disciple, Gyurmanye Dongwampo to Dudjom Rinpoche, who wrote a little bit around the original text for clarity. I think he knew that we're going to have a bunch of Westerns like us who need a little bit of clarity of what is this? And down from Dudjom Rinpoche to Lama Tarchen Rinpoche, Dunsitin Urban Rinpoche, Lama Sonam Tsering, and through their great, immeasurable compassion, this teaching is now being presented to you. And of course, our Ngondro is not better than any other Ngondro. Ngondro of the Kagyupas, the Ngondro of the Gelupas, the Lonchenintik Ngondro, the Troma Ngondro, all comes back to Kuntuzampo or back to Vajradhara. So, but at least this one I know a little bit. I practiced a little bit. So I can affirm to you guys. It's so incredible that we have this in this day and age. And I want to highly encourage you. The ultimate teachings of the Great Perfection are going to be taught here in Pema through a very beautiful presentation called the Fourth Theme Garland by in the next weeks. I don't remember that, but go to the website, it's there, by Khenpo Orgin Chowan Rinpoche. And if you want to bring even more meaning on what you do with your Ngondro, I really recommend you to come and receive these teachings. And I think in, Thanksgiving, Lama Sonam is going to be teaching Vajrayana.
The Amitabha Poa first.
Amitabha Poa. So, ladies and gentlemen, the last practice here is the Kandrunintik, the Kandrunintik Poa. So, what Lama Sonam is going to teach is those two lines, Gompoa Pamela Soladev, Zalampoa de Wartingilo. Anyway, you know those two teachings? Yes. Dudjom Limpa has a whole development for that. It's called the Kandrunintik Poa. And it's the Poa of this cycle of Ngondro, specifically. So if you want to deep your understanding and your practice of Poa based on what is in the Dudjom Tersar Ngondro, I highly recommend you to come to Pema and receive these teachings. And keep yourself posted in our website because we will have Ngondro teachings next year, right?
Yeah, Ngondro retreat.
Ngondro retreat in some point. And we're going to have our summer retreat and our Gutar. I really recommend you to be able to always make an auspicious connection. But for now, we have this Poa, this Ngondro connected Poa being taught here by Lama Sonam, and the four themed garlands from Longchenpa, based on the teachings of Gampopa, taught here on the
November 3rd and 4th.
Huh?
November 3 to 4.
November 3 to 4th. I highly recommend and encourage you to come. But honestly, don't let those teachings don't come to teachings only and say this is really beautiful and cool and let it create cobwebs in your mind. Put this in practice. Put it in practice by literally doing it. And for the time that you are not in your cushion, remembering that you are making a commitment. Commitment with not harming, commitment with doing benefit, and commitment with taming your mind. That's all. Sonam de tamje zibai ni donne ni ben janam baje shin ke ga nan jem bala jupai simbe zole jawai sho.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Freddie.
Thank
It was
you.
wonderful. Our next webcast, I believe, accumulation session, which is on the 27th. Did somebody want to ask a question? You can unmute yourself if you want to ask.
They're all unmuted right now.
Okay, go ahead.
So
Can you just
I've
put
been
them in your...
doing Ngondro very early in the morning, and when I come home,
We can't hear you. We can't hear you. Could you repeat that?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Okay, cool. So I've been doing Ngondro early in the morning, like around 5 in the morning and stuff. And when I come back home from work, I find myself having some free time and thinking, maybe I should do more Ngondro. But then my mind kind of goes in a different direction, and I end up doing homework or something. But I'm sure it's probably fine to do Ngondro whenever I want to, as long as I'm doing it daily. but is there like a bad time to do it? Like say like right before bed or something?
Any time is the best time. Once you sit and do it, any time is the best time, always.
Okay.
When you do Ngondro in the morning, you are setting up the pace for your whole day. Everything you do during the day is going to be an expression of your refuge, expression of your bodhicitta, and expression of your pure view. When you eat, you are making offerings to the Lama. When you are walking, you visualize the Lama here on your shoulder, and you are doing circumambulations. When you go to sleep, the Lama dissolves in your heart, and your sleep becomes practice. You can do Ngondro by just remembering the Lama and the triple gems. Every time you do something good for someone, that you are not accumulating bodhicitta. You are embodying bodhicitta. Every time you integrate that understanding with your Ngondro, every time you take a decision of not do something that's going to harm you or others, you are taking refuge in the Buddha, in the Dharma, in the Sangha. Every time that you sit in the subway, you are going to enlightenment, and you are taking all sentient beings in the great subway of samsara to enlightenment. And you can do that by aspiration or by opening your sadhana and doing but don't do it very loud. People can get really angry with you. But anyway, if you are in a subway, do it. You might not be accumulating, but do it. You are having lunch. Great. Here's your lunch, right? Serai candiele dans l'anchepa, soni zaiti conchon sornaimbu. And perhaps you still have 15 minutes for go back to work. Open. At this point, probably already know by heart. You might not be accumulating formally, but you are practicing your Ngondro. You come back at home, and you sit, and in your bed, what do I have? Facebook? What about Ngondro book? There is no wrong time to do it. There is no wrong time. Every time is auspicious. And the most important thing is don't let the conditions have power over you. Empower yourself for bringing everything inside Ngondro. All the time. Every time you mess up and you say something a little not nice to someone, you say, oh, I'm sorry. Look at that person and imagine that that person's Vajrasattva. And make a commitment, I'm not going to mess again. I promise. So you can do Ngondro all day through aspiration and remembering the essence of each section and integrating it in with every single movement that you do in your life, during your day and night, or during your for 5 minutes you have, just open and get drunk in Ngondro. You just have 4 minutes in the waiting for the subway. Okay, you don't need to get your mala back, but you can close your eyes and imagine the beautiful smile of your Lama there in front of you. Smile that is of total acceptance, of total love, of total caring about your well-being. And let yourself bask in the light of that smile. It's going to take you just the 4 minutes until the next subway arrive. But in those 4 minutes, you receive that presence in your heart. There is no more sublime blessing than that. There is no wrong time for Ngondro.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I don't think I have any more questions. You answered what
Okay. So as Untitled Rinpoche would say, Tugdan Gompel, may your practice increase and develop. All of you.
Thank you, everybody. We'll see you if you can join us for the accumulation webcast on the 27th at 10 a.m. We'd love to have you. See you then.
Great. Yeah. Hopefully.
Thank you, Freddie.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.